Hey guys, what's up and welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. So today is a really treat. I have a guest who I really look up to and who's really one of the senior men in Malaysia's political scene. He is a full-time grassroots activist for over 30 years, and guess this, he is an economic graduate from UKM. He is currently part of the Central Committee of PSM. He has served as Secretary General of PSM from 1998 to 2015. Among other things, he has worked with Swaram, a leading human rights NGO in Malaysia from 1995 till 2006. He has served as a local councillor at Semenyih constituency from 2008 till 2013. He's one of the founders of Jawatan Kuasa Kebajikan Mahasiswa at UKM at 1987, Plantation Workers Support Group JSML in 1993, who fight for plantation workers' housing issues and monthly wages. He's also founded the Community Development Centre CDC in 1992, a grassroots group working with plantation workers, factory workers, urban pioneers and the Orang Asli. One of the founders of Parti Sosialis Malaysia way back in 1998, as well as Jaringan Rakyat Tertindas Malaysia Jerit and Gerakan Mansuhkan ISA GMI. My goodness. He's championed and led various issues, including fuel hikes, decent housing, minimum wage acts, retrenchment fund for workers, abolishment of ISA, and many more. And here's the best part. He's been arrested more than 40 times defending the rights of the marginalized. Please welcome the great Mr. Arutchelvan. How are you, sir?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's such an honor for me to have you here. I want to start this discussion, of course, to get to know you a bit more. I think a lot of us know you from social media, but I want to know your past as well. Mm-hmm. So, you are an economics graduate from UKM.
Yes.
What made you contribute your life to this? Devote your life to this? What you do now? Fighting for the marginalized.
Actually, some people from theory, they study and then they become a socialist. And
Yeah.
I'm completely the other way. I've been from young. We've been involved in many schools activities, interact club, benefit society, and all that. But when I went to the university is of course polarized lah. Indian goes to the Indian ragging,
Yes,
and then the
yes.
Malay, Chinese. We live in three different society. That was very different from where I was from in Ipoh, in ACS. Quite multiracial. You don't see racism so much, So went to university. I wanted to do. So the idea was to do work among the Indians, So I wanted to go. So I went to the university authorities in my first semester. I told him that I want to go and do some survey in the estates, They say you can't do it. The University Act says you must put the paperwork and all that, So finally, because of that, I had to do it illegal. So got a group of 10 friends during holidays. We went and surveyed 10 places, all Indian areas. And there was one place which really I think was a turning point lah. I went to this house near Riverside. The neighbors all told me don't go there. That house didn't have a ground. It was like don't have a floor.
Okay.
It was like sand, four corners, and there was two lines of clothes hanging there.
Okay.
No TV, nothing, anything. And then there was some children. Young women were like, they didn't have enough clothes, They were like covering themselves. I was like shocked. I only saw this like in TV, Ethiopia, those days.
Yeah.
Bit shocked. Then I spoke to the mother. Mother said the husband in jail. She earns $3 a day. Gets free water from sawmills where she works, collects the water, a few kilometers walk. So I had a survey paper, which I couldn't ask all the questions. I was dumbfolded because the question said, how much do you income? How do you go to school? And completely, So I went back, talked to my friends. I said, this is very serious lah. I think we cannot solve it like that. So we got deeper into the issues, And I think that is when I participated in a so-called strike in Aboko Estate, a 22-day strike. When on the first days, went to a suddenly estate, people were talking about strike, don't know anything about strike, supported them. And during the strike, what amazed me was, estate manager was a Chinese businessman, a Chinese capitalist, workers Indians, Indian politician came and was working with the Chinese capitalists to get the Indians evicted.
Some things never change.
And another eye-opening thing was when they wanted to bring the Malay workers from a neighboring kampong to come there and work. The Malay workers said, we cannot. They are our brothers. The Indians are our brothers. We will not take away their work. Then the company wanted to bring Indonesian workers. The Malay workers, Malay, not the workers in the estate, no, from the neighboring kampong, came and stopped the Indonesian workers. So that one realized me on class solidarity. Lah. I think that's how I got more entrenched into left-wing politics and all that. So nothing to do with what I studied in economics.
Okay, nothing.
More to do with practical involvement and then slowly evolve into...
Last night and a few days before, while I was preparing for this interview, a question kept on bugging me because I had gone for an event. I don't want to say what event.
Okay.
But it was attended by a lot of up-and-coming politicians. And they were talking about seats, right? Then I thought about you. And you've been PSM, and of course it's not been an easy journey, definitely, right? You've been jailed 40 times, and I mean, and I know the work you've done. PSM obviously is the only party that does good work on the ground. But how did you maintain your resolve when other people are looking for seats? You never had a guarantee of seats, and you found PSM when the left was completely eradicated in Malaysia. Besides PRM, I think was there for a while. I mean, but still was just whispers. How did you keep your resolve to fight for the people, despite knowing most likely there won't be a gold pot at the end of the rainbow?
Actually, the people who join PSM have different motivations.
Okay.
They don't join, like in PSM, when you want to select candidates, everybody will fight and say, that fellow is a better candidate. I don't want to be candidate. Because everybody want to be a revolutionary. They all want to, they feel election is dirty. So it's a very tough situation, So when we joined, I cannot say I joined the party, we started the party.
Yeah.
It was against the odds, And I think, but over the journey, actually there's been so much of victories, There's so much of places where people have got houses. We fought eviction. We have been arrested, yes, but there have been so many victories. And every victory, 10 years of struggle, 15 years of struggle, people get free homes, fight against evictions. It actually motivates you, that you are on the right path. And, like those days, before we started the PSM, socialism was a dirty word.
Yes.
And people won't be afraid. Communist, of course, is completely out of the way.
The worst word.
So when we started socialists, of course, the old left, the older people, the more senior told us, hey, you are digging your own grave. But now over the years, we had 12 people in our first Congress. That's only the number of people in the party. So today we have got at least about 3,000 members, and we got very multiracial. At one time, Dr. Nazir was the only Malay. So we used to call lelaki Melayu terakhir. Today we got a lot of Malays joining the party. So if you look in a long term, there has been victory, and it keeps going, Because I think when you are ideologically inclined, like even PAS, when you're ideologically inclined, then you have people who are, you have all the people who are ideologically inclined coming to one party.
Yes.
And it's even sometimes very difficult for the party to move, to even work with other parties, because the members are so idealist, they want to be, we can't do an Anwar with our members. We cannot change policies so easily.
Yeah.
So I think those are some things a bit different.
Keeping that in mind, if you and PSM on the left are more ideologically driven, what is the state of the country now that it's run by, say, parties on the right that may be more driven for positions and stuff like that instead of ideology?
You mean
the fate of the country? What do you think would be the fate of the country?
See, one of the biggest problem is racism, race politics. So the easy way for a party to become popular is to take a race line.
Yes.
And if we would have taken that line, we could become very popular overnight. But then we will be only addressing one issue, So in PSM, we strictly say there is no Indian, Malay, Chinese section. For fun, we stop that. A party has to work into that. And for us, we feel we have to go for PSM to gain more work support, we have to go into the East East Coast. We have to do more work with the Kampung Tradisi Melayu and all that. So that is how we look at politics. But I agree, the elephant in the room is racism, without addressing that. Even James Putuchari, the late those days, he said that you cannot build socialism without addressing. People have to be on an equal grounds, and then you can build the next layer. You see, so we've been always stuck here. So when we're stuck here, we pick up what are the issues we can bring it up, which can unite the races. So we choose issues like the minimum wage campaign, environmental campaign which can bring all races together. We don't take up maybe quota or all that because we feel it will continue to divide the society lah.
Yes,
Those are important issues, but we pick issues which can unite the people.
Okay.
And we see over a period of time, we hope to gain support lah. Either do you want to go very right and then get the people, or do you stay in the center and play both the games, or you stay with left, stay your grounds and hope more people on the right move this side. So we are like taking that position lah. And we are not very extreme left or what. We are just
more like center left lah.
Yeah.
But okay, I mean, I would like to go to what happened recently. Ayer Kuning, of course.
Okay.
There's a very I mean, Ms. Bawani got over 1,000 votes.
Okay.
Which I was very happy with. I thought it was a victory. It's good. Although I think you, in the time when you ran in Kaja, I think you at one elections you got 5,000 votes and all that kind of stuff, right? But what is your review of that entire campaign, and what does that result mean to PSM?
Okay, it was a difficult campaign, tough campaign, because it's a rural area for a start. You know, we are not fighting in an urban area where you distance are near. So it was quite a tough campaign. Most parties which are very non-Malay parties will not take up an Ayer Kuning seat.
Yeah.
It's disastrous. So when we went into Ayer Kuning second time, we had a good candidate, and the party wanted to take up the seat because we thought during by-election, you can raise a lot of issues of public interest because the media will be there. So in that part, we achieved. Second was, in our postmortem, before standing for the election, we had this meeting. We said, there were some people say, what happens if we do worse than the last time?
Okay.
That's going to be disastrous, you know. So we said, we have to work so hard. We must at least do better than the... So when I went with the candidate to the 19 polling station on election day. Yeah. Everywhere turnout was so bad. I was very worried because I said, if turnout is so bad, our vote is going to drip. Yeah. You know? And that is what happened to BN. You know, they dripped about, I think, 5,000 votes, almost 5,000 votes. Yes. They dripped. Perikatan Nasional dripped 700. But we gained 500. Yeah. So for me, that was a bit of a consolation. And but I think if more voters came back home, you know, when we went to most of the houses during the two weeks campaign, there are hardly people there. House to house, knocking door, there's hardly people there. People will say, got other voters. How many voters got 1? 3 people are outside. Will they come back? Don't know, you know. Yes. So most people didn't come back. If they came back, I think would have done slightly better. Statistically, we did out of the 20 places, we gained votes, higher vote countage in 18 out of 20. Oh wow! 18 out of 20. And if you look at percentage, it was 100%. I mean, all the 20 places we got more percentage of votes. The one place we got less was last time was 111, this time 107, 4 votes less. Okay, that's the only place. Forgivable. And another one was Undi Post lah. We got less votes this time. Last time was 5, this time was 2. Okay. All the other places we gained more support. Some said Indian areas we tripled it. Chinese area we doubled it. Malay areas we got I think about less than 100 votes. But it's that means less than 10%, about maybe 5% or what, yeah. But in 3 polling stations, you actually beat PN. Yes. So, interesting, because earlier you talked about racism. Could that be a sign that the voters, especially in Ayer Kuning, where it's such a rural place, 60% of the voters are Malay, that they themselves are not buying this PN rhetoric of race and religion? I think perhaps those who voted for us may be watching your podcast.
No, last,
I mean,
please.
or BFM,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
because I think people who are those who vote for PSM normally they can be progressives, people who are who look at issues and all that. But you see, during the 2 weeks, the media especially, Sina, Utusan,
Yeah,
all
a
those
lot of
people,
them, yeah.
all of them told us, they said only PSM did the best campaign.
Yes,
They said your campaign, the press conferences you make, the issues you raise, nobody else raised.
no one.
The others, they issued the pig issue.
The big one.
The other one was on the whether the guy got a taulia in his
Yes.
academic.
And then a lot of Jamwan, all I heard.
Yeah. So the media. That's why I thought after the election, the media was very kind to us.
Yeah.
Most of the media said this is hope. PSM got 6%, lost deposit, but they say this is a warning.
Yeah, it is.
For the third force, this is a good awakening and all that. So I think the media out there actually sort of felt that our politics are the correct politics lah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Hands down. But interesting, you bring that point up as well, because in Bawani's speech at the war room after everything, right? She said that this is the time for the third force to come up. So will this mark the formation of the third force?
you see, honestly, the third force is very weak lah. Okay? Honestly, it's very weak. The thing is, in the last, we have been using this third force term
For a while.
very long.
Yes,
For a while.
yes.
Not only us, like everybody who stands, But we realized that to be a third force, you have to stand in 222 seats. Nobody takes us seriously. If you're standing in like the most PSM stood in 16 seats. So when you stand in 16 seats, people will say you're not going to form any government. You're not really a third force lah. So our work now is to work with other parties. No parties in Malaysian politics can rule singly. So we are looking for partners lah. And of course we worked with MUDA for 2 elections now. We are actually working with trying to come up with MUDA, try to come up with a document, joint proper document. And then we want to invite other parties like PRM and other parties to come into this fold lah. Of course, in Malaysian politics, the option for PSM is only 2 lah, 3 lah. One, you don't stand for election.
Yes.
And then everybody will say you are a NGO. Why you form a
movement,
political party?
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly is you join an existing coalition. Either you join Perikatan Nasional or you join Pakatan Harapan. You join one of them, beg them for some seats, get some seats, try to go into that because only coalition can win elections.
Yeah.
Third, you build the third force. To build a third force, we have to work with parties in Sabah and Sarawak. We have to try to get 222. Recently, there's some idea that we should only focus in one state. Why you focus in... Even if you understand in Selangor, you need 56 seats. You need to stand in. So it's not... So we have to build towards that lah. So in our own Deklarasi Trolak, which PSM did in 2020, 10 years to 2030, 2026, we're supposed to have a full-fledged third force structure,
Okay.
So we are working on it, but and of course this what happened with Bawani and the media and all that, it actually gives us puts us in a better light lah.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
push for the third force.
I was very happy to see the coverage. It was really good. It showcased. But okay, just on that note, because recently I attended an event organized by PRM and the Death Railway
okay.
one, celebrating those two. I forgot their names now. Veerasanan and
Ganapati.
Ganapati, yes.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to a few people who are, all of them, most of them are from the left. And one group was a socialist alternative, and we were talking, and then they said that they disagree with PSM's stance of joining with MUDA. And I think PRM also may share a bit of that sentiment, perhaps.
Okay.
Considering that you are a leftist party, do you think having MUDA there, a capitalist party, would do justice to you forming the third force?
I think MUDA has declared they are a social democrat lah. Okay.
Okay.
And I think to be fair, if you want everyone to be a PSM, then you don't need a coalition. Coalition means you have to compromise, you have to take a ground, but the ground shouldn't overtake the principles of the party. So that means when we stood with MUDA the last time, that we agreed on two things. On race politics, we are together. They opposed race politics, they opposed the quota, they were together with us on race politics. On local government election, fighting corruption. These were three things we could agree on, you know. So, you know, and I think some of times like socialist alternative, they try to represent the extreme left, you know. We really hope they would come bigger and join us together, you know, because at the end of the day, you can't, our experience, we took 10 years to register PSM, you know, took 10 years to even register a socialist party in this country. And we have to gain more support, gain more vote, you know, to go to the next step. So I think working with MUDA, of course, MUDA will also, you know, like the last election, Urime people came and supported. And Urime people in all their podcasts were telling everybody, we are not like PSM. PSM is a class-based party. They fight for multiracial. They are a truly multiracial party, but we are trying to talk to the Indian voters, you know.
Okay.
So in a certain sense, that we have never compromised this one, but we work with partners, but we must have a clear guideline.
Correct.
What we want to move on. And I think Lenin those days talk about ultra-leftists, you know.
Yes.
He condemns people who takes a very extreme, because they talk to themselves. they have all this great notions of socialism, utopian thing. They talk to themselves. They don't have to, they don't work with people. Like, you know, like working on the ground, working with the cleaners, working with the hospital union workers, working with gig drivers, you know. So all the parties who are critical to us, they should actually have a base, you know. So we actually, a lot of times when we talk, like there was a time we stood under PKR logo because we were not registered.
Which you won that time.
Yeah. But when we stood under a PKR logo, we talked to our base. We talked to the people. Do they agree we stand in a PKR logo? And they wanted us to stand in a PKR logo, you see. But of course, if you talk to people, one, two ideologue in a party which doesn't have much members, they can take a very extreme, very principled position, you know.
Correct.
And sometimes some of the views are like very far-fetched. Like they'll give you the suggestion like the thing has to come under workers' control, they will say, which is you don't even have 6% unionization, you know, so you have to build on that.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
So I think it's a project, and I think we have to work with many parties, but we have to make sure that we don't compromise principles in it.
One of the things that's been discussed a lot in political news is succession. In the terms of PKR, we are looking at, you know, people wanting Nurliza and all that to become the vice president. But in PSM, because I've interviewed a lot of PSM members, all the young guys like Hui Ting, Arvind, Bawani and all that, and of course Dr. Nasir and all us, you all are, you know, I don't want to say old, but you guys are the seniors lah.
Okay.
What is the plan for PSM to introduce a new generation of leaders?
Actually, if PSM, as you say, is a very difficult. We don't have power struggles and all that. No, so. What happened those days? I was like Secretary General for 17 years. Dr. Nazir. So the Central Committee, the people in power, said, put a resolution that to limit our term. We put, not the members, you know. We put a term and we wanted to be only in power, in succession for 4 years each. But so it was a very interesting congress where we divided the membership according to age, you know. The younger people, like, you know, 20 years to 30 years, then 30 to 40, 40 to 50, like that. We divided to groups, did workshop. How many terms should be give? The best funny thing was the younger people, they feel the seniors must stay. We, the seniors, were telling that we want the younger people should take over, you know. So the resolution, the Congress, we lost the resolution. The younger people won the resolution.
For you all to stay.
So it became 10 years, you know.
Okay.
So that's why, Dr. Nazir, if Dr. Nazir, he will be continue, you know. So the transition happened, you know. So Kumar, I think he came in 2015. So the next election, his 10 years term will end, you know. So there is, and in PSM, there's many ways. Last time we had what we call a coup d'etat committee.
Okay.
The coup d'etat committee is building the second liners to oust the first liners.
Nice.
Within the party itself,
Okay.
it's a coup. It's a very interesting concept, and a lot of people in coup d'etat, are like people like in Sivaranjani, the current secgen. So we got a first women secgen who's very young. So actually, there is happening, and if you look, people above 50 in the party now in the central committee, only two of us,
Okay.
myself and Dr. Kumar.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
So the other members of the party are below 50 lah, to say.
Okay.
So I think, but only thing sometimes, we are more projected. Kumar
Yes,
is more
yes.
more projected. So people think there is no. But we do have a lot of young people coming up, young people who are idealists, young people who are in the party, which
Yeah.
I think will eventually take over the leadership.
All right. Fantastic. We can't
Yeah.
wait for that.
Okay.
I think let's go to a bit of current news. And as I was telling you about the issue with Nurul Izzah and PKR now,
Okay.
it's considering that you guys have also campaigned under that banner once. Do you agree that with what people are saying, that it is nepotism and it shouldn't happen, considering that nepotism has existed in Malaysian politics since Tun Razak Dato' on time? Is it something wrong that now they are pushing for her to become vice president?
Deputy President.
Deputy president, sorry.
Deputy President, yeah. I think it's problematic lah. I'm not worried. I mean, because it's another party,
Yeah.
But I don't know how Anwar could have a deputy with his daughter, And I think you should allow the members to decide. But I think the whole election politics, every time PKR goes into election, they split. And I think that is a bigger problem, So they have real big camps. So I would say, I think Nurul Izzah is a good leader, very good leadership. I've seen her in action and all that, I also don't really think she agrees to what her father does all the time. I also feel she has her own mind, It'd be very interesting to see a women leadership. But Anwar need to also step down now to get a women to allow, because when compared to one Aziza, Anwar always brought in one Aziza when he goes to jail because he doesn't maybe believe in a person beside his own family. That is not good for a party.
Yeah.
But then having said that, every other party, DAP, Kitsiang, Guaning, Karpal, every party has this lineage of family members.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Hussein on,
Yeah,
on Jafar, Hussein on,
Dato'
Ishamuddin.
Jafar, Ishamuddin, what a
All
dynasty.
parties have this.
Yeah.
But I think when people vote Izzah, are they voting for Izzah? Are they voting for Anwar? Are they opposing Rafizi? So I think those issues. I hope I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of PKR, and since Dato' Sri Anwar is the Prime Minister, in the time that he's been Prime Minister, what is your opinion of his style of governance and what he has done? Do you think it's enough?
No, I think Anwar is a great orator. To a different crowd, he can really he can. So, but I think what is happening now is he has lost the Malay to Perikatan Nasional, so he's trying to gain back the votes. But he's trying to do it to get in the Malay votes. He's making the non-Malays unhappy. So some will say, you have two birds. You have lost one bird. By trying to catch that bird, you lose this bird. You lose both. So I think if Anwar can be just like people great leaders like Mandela and all that. When he come to power, they didn't go after the whites. They created an environment. I think Anwar, with his capability, his speech, he can actually play that role, But he's playing it very slow. Like on when racial issues like the KK Mat, he allows it to accelerate. And then you have to get the king or someone to come in between and say something.
He doesn't stamp it down quickly, yes.
So I think he can play a more proactive role in addressing those issues. I think people would appreciate, both sides will appreciate. Because end of the day, that you're talking truth, like you're not playing to the gallery. I think that is important. I think that's the part I'm a bit disappointed. Sometime back when you in the opposition, Anwar said, kita tak setuju dengan ketuanan Melayu. Kita setuju dengan ketuanan rakyat.
Yes.
So we want to see the ketuanan rakyat, from the people, But it looks like people say, past is the original. You cannot be the original.
The OGs.
You cannot be that, So you have to build a new. You need to be brave enough to fight this lie. And Anwar has the capacity, but looks like he's not interested to do that.
But PKR has a very interesting connection with the left. PRM was the one that most of his members joined PKR and all that. Two things. Firstly is, did you agree with that move? And number two is, do you think any socialist ideologies have survived the test of time in PKR?
I think the entire left of the Keadilan have been left aside. That's why when they say the Keadilan flag, you have the two red.
Red, yeah.
They've been sidelined. The red have been sidelined. And you see people like Syed Hussein, he couldn't win. And then the entire Latifah, Koya, Siwa Rasa, they are the left, so-called Tian Chua. They are the people... the only remaining guy is Hassan Karim, who is you can see Hassan as the sole fighter. He's the only one talking against his own party's interest all the time. And Hassan always is quite close with PSM. He talks to us and all that. He says this is the reality lah. So I think you see when people join. See, there's one thing which Trotsky used to say those days. He says, when you join a coalition, you must be able to lead it. If you want to bring your politics in. So what has happened to the people who joined Keadilan, they are supposed to make Keadilan more left-wing. They became right-wing. So it is no use to join a coalition if you can't lead it, So you have to be very careful in how when you form something. So in those days, I think a lot of people also encourage PSM that time to join PKR, so that PKR can. And Izam was one very interesting conversation I had was with Izam. He was in jail and he was in the courtroom waiting for he said, telling me, he says, Arul, PSM should join PKR. Look at me, he says. Izam then, no? He says, look at me. If not, I'll be. Then after that, he joined UMNO again. So I think this is the problem. So when people join PKR, whether how much you can make changes lah. So I think for PSM, when the PSRM dropped the word socialist, so they drop socialist because they think by dropping the S, they'll get more support. Today there's a testimony that PSRM has won election. PRM has never won election. The socialists or Barisan socialists have won seats, but not PRM, which has dropped socialists.
Correct.
So it shows that it's not the name lah. It's how you
carry yourself and project yourself.
Yeah.
But in my conversations with many socialist people, do you think that perhaps the left suffers from the fact that the ideologies that they carry sometimes do not resonate with the general voter base, or it may not be the focus, something that's close to our hearts, and that's why there is a lack of translation into the work that you do on the ground to votes in a general election?
True, it's a correct observation as well. But the thing is, over a period of time, do you completely get wiped out? So for me, I look at it. PSM, when we started, we have grown over the years. Over the years, we became more multiracial. We have survived. We are more popular now. The media, the mainstream media takes us seriously. Everything which PSM says is a news. I was talking to someone in Malaysia, Kini, they were saying that actually now the only news opposing we get from PSM, no other parties, So in that sense, our presence, we fill up a vacuum there lah. So I think it will take time. Like on many issues, but a lot of people say our marketing is not correct lah, how you project ourselves. But on many issues, if you ask people, every time I do session with people, when this question asked, I ask them, do you support in affordable housing? They say yes. Do you support on public healthcare? Yes. Do you support on public transportation? Yes. Do you support everything? Yes. I said, are you a socialist? And then they all go quiet,
Yeah.
Because talking about what we do actually, what we campaign, what we do, what we fight for, is actually what people aspire,
Yeah.
By election, they look at this, they suddenly... They talk about Jinping lah.
But that's an interesting thing, sir. Why don't why doesn't PSM contest in more urban seats? Because I think last time I interviewed Sivarajan, right, the former Secgen, and he was contesting in Kota Damansara in a Malay Malay majority area. Why don't you all contest in urban? Because wouldn't the urban people be more aware about politics and how our own elections work and all that?
Actually, this observation is also made within the party.
Okay.
And in fact, after the Ayer Kuning, actually my CC meeting is just Sunday, coming Sunday. But there's this question that we should focus on more urban seats. Something we should look at. Because how we were looking at, where we work, we contest in places we have done work. We don't believe in parachute candidates and all that, So even we're going to stand in urban seat, we have to make sure people work there for at least 2 years. Because the party has such many standards. You have to, if you want to be a candidate, you must work in the area for 2 years at least. You have to go there. So if you want to undo that, you have to do a resolution, put in the Congress, debate about it. Because we've been critical about parties putting parachute candidates. And we also been critical that why are the... like DAP can win in urban seat, they no way they can go. Pakatan Harapan go to East Coast, they lose deposit,
Definitely.
So the thing is, but of course, whether you need a few seats, you need to win some seats to get more support. We understand that. So I think this proposal about sending more urban seats, something will be seriously considered.
Yes, I hope so. I'm going to see PSM gain more seats.
Okay.
But when you did win the Kota, which I think it's Kota Damansara, right? Kota Damansara. So you did win. When y'all were finally in the state government apparatus, did you feel a huge gap between your ideologies and what is practiced in the way they govern?
Actually, Dr. Kumar won in Parliament Sungai Siput, Dr. Nazir won in Kota Damansara.
Yes.
Actually, the thing is, when we were there, only thing we had more space. We could go into communities, we had more money, funding from the state. We use it. And a lot of issues which Dr. Nazir talked about, low-cost flats, argument. He put out all these arguments quite well and well received by the people, even by the opponents, or within the even when I was a councillor, I'll bring all these ideas. I'll say, okay, we should have a committee to take care of playgrounds in our taman.
Very good point.
I said,
very good point.
I said, why you talk about vandalism? Get our own people take care of this one. Give them some funding. They will know how to run it. Let the local people get involved in managing waste. How to do it? Get people involved. So giving all the ideas. So nobody will oppose the idea. The pengarah, the YDP will say, "Wah, Arul punya idea sangat bagus." You'll say, we see we can do a pilot project or not. Because we don't have the majority, and all that. So I think it's well received, but when it comes to election is really which party you are. That's why I always say that Kamala Hassan, who was so popular, cannot win elections because he's not in the two parties.
Correct.
This to tell the Indians every time they're very disappointed. Why, Arul, you cannot win? You did so much. So I'll have to explain to them the first past the post system. Why? It's not that because people don't think we are not a good candidate. So, but this is the reality, lah. So they were in Kota Damansara. We could make Kumar. He was the speaker. Told that Dr. Kumar is there's only, he says, 2 members of parliament who research and talk sense in parliament. One was Saifuddin Nasution, the current home. Another one is Dr. J. Kumar. So because I think we bring quality into it.
You do, definitely. Yeah. Now let's go to some of the things, and thank you for making a nice segue into my next part, which is Dr. Jay Kumar.
Okay.
I have been quite critical of him.
Okay.
And I just want to share one point, because you in fact, you actually shared something which we'll go into, which is the doctor issue now, right? But I remember one interview he did, I think it was 2008 or 2008, I think, after PH had won 5 states. And he was asked about, he proposed a plan to increase the number of salaries of workers, reduce the working days to 4-day weeks, right? But when the presenter asked him how, he didn't have an answer. He said, we need to discuss and all that. That was my big thing, because I felt that doing such policies, implementing, will make us we will lose our competitiveness in our region, Southeast Asian region.
Right.
If we were in Europe, you could do this, but in Southeast Asia, it's not possible, and then we will lose investments. Companies will move to Vietnam, Indonesia, and all, and we lose more jobs. Am I right in sometimes saying that perhaps sometimes the ideologies are not pragmatic?
No, actually, I'm a bit surprised because Dr. Kumar in the party, he's the one always opposed when we fight for higher wages. He will say, we cannot fight for higher wages.
Okay.
Because
but now PSM is fighting to increase to 2002, right? Or was
no, 2000.
2000, sorry.
2000, because we calculate the government policy itself, it should be more than 2000.
Yeah.
So
inflation and all that. Yeah.
No, what I mean is that Kumar has always cautioned the party.
Okay.
He's always a bit isolated when we will be fighting. He will be always telling us, no, the investors will run away and all that. We need an ASEAN, but he got solutions. He'll say, we need a discussion at ASEAN level to have a Southeast Asia minimum wage.
Oh.
We have to have a corporate tax at the Southeast Asia so that all countries in Southeast Asia agree that corporate tax should be put at a certain rate,
Okay.
so that people among us, we don't fight. So he has got solutions to that. But you're correct, but some of that's why a lot of policies, when we talk about scheme pension, 500 ringgit for those 65 and above, actually we, in the same paper, we say how to get that, how much it costs, how many billion it costs. I think it was only constitute 2% of the total budget. And how the 2% you can get it through taxing of the top 50 people or something. So there is a clear paper, how much the top get, how much money, how you can resolve that. So the papers are there. But of course, I think people tend to think that our policies are, because they've not
read the paper,
not heard about it,
Yeah.
So a lot of times there is a gap between that. So we ourselves understand when we ask for healthcare to be increased to 5% of the budget and all that, we need to give reasons.
Yes.
Where are you going to get the money from?
Correct. Yeah.
And like parties a lot of parties criticize because think we are very social democrat all that. But actually, we try to be very practical. Like for example, the subsidy, think PSM supported it.
The diesel subsidies.
Subsidy, taking away the subsidies.
Diesel, okay.
But then how the money should be used for the hospitals and all that,
Correct.
So we have those kinds of ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But sticking on Dr. Jayakumar,
Okay.
and by the way, I just want to say this: I have great respect for him. I may disagree what he says, but that is not a personal attack. It's just on what he says, right? I think we can disagree in opinions, but okay. Now that you said this, okay, now I have a different view or point of what he said. But recently, he came out with a press statement regarding the whole doctor issue, where now it's a must to display the prices on the labels of products. What is PSM's stance on this?
No, I think yes. We need to have the prices out there, And within the PSM, there's been a vibrant debate going on in our WhatsApp group. Because the majority of people, of course, there are people saying that, okay, we also have to increase the 35 ringgit.
Yeah.
It's
I
too,
don't agree, but okay.
too low,
Yeah.
But our biggest issue is on the private hospitals, not really on the GPs actually. Because you see, a lot of, in our own group, the doctors were saying, they regulate doctors, but they, you pay more for the beds, for your stay, for the food you eat in the private hospital than the doctor's fee, So I think there must be a cap. And we have been asking for private hospital moratorium, don't build private hospital for the next 10 years, so that doctors can stay in government hospitals. Because when you have private hospital, a lot of doctors go there,
Okay.
75% of patients are in government hospitals. 75% of specialists are in private hospitals. 25% of specialists are in government hospitals. 75% patients are here. Because all doctors are trained by government.
Exactly.
Then they move to the private sector because there's a lot of holes.
Yeah.
So we think we have to cover that, and so that people make sure that and I think that is what we are trying to find some sort of a balance. But I think we because this issue, Dr. Kumar came up with a whole argument about the whole system, systemic problem. But I think a lot of us think that you should the price should be. And Kumar actually mentioned in this one, doctors have a trick. They write, they don't write the medicine name. They'll write fever.
Yeah.
They're scared to write the medicine because they're scared you'll go and look to the shop and you put them out of
Business lah. Yeah, lah.
anyway. AI is going to put everybody out of job. So
Yeah, I know what doctors are worried about. Yeah. Okay, but the of course there's another issue as well coming up, which is our tariffs. And I thought, of course, you are an economics guy. I thought it'd be fun to talk to you about
okay.
this. Yeah. Recently, there was a special sitting in Parliament where the government has announced their steps to curb if the tariffs were to take place. Most likely it will, but maybe at a reduced rate. The US government has imposed 5 demands and all that. The opposition is now asking for a caucus and all that kind of things. Based on what the Prime Minister said, where they have formed a special task force to assess the matter. But of course, then he pointed out about our trade surplus is now at over 150 billion. But then it was pointed out by the opposition that our trade surplus is dropping by as years to come. Do you think the government is doing enough to get ourselves ready for what is coming in terms of the tariffs?
I think firstly the tariff is very interesting because tariff is what the left would call for, So in the world today, the America, the capitalist country, is asking for tariff. And China, supposed to be the communists, are saying we need a free world, free economy, completely
What's happening?
upside down, So in the issue of tariff, we think tariffs are important to protect our local
markets.
thing, So the philosophy on tariff, we understand. But I think what we need to do is we are in the part of the global world. So when you're in the global world, this is what you get. So we have to increase our local, not to be too dependent on foreign markets, So that is why we think that food production, food, that we will even propose that all plantation have to allocate 10% to farm rice and vegetables and all that, so that we import less. When you do that, then your economy stabilizes, you are self-sustained, then you don't have to depend on imports. So I think this is what we will look for. And I think we would say that ASEAN have to deal with tariffs together. Cannot have a separate stung among themselves. That need to be discussed. So I think what every country is doing is just a economical deal, but I think we have to strengthen the local economy. That is why we are against, they were trying to evict the farmers in Tambun and build industrial factories, So end of the day, the farming they did since Second World War, pre-World War, is more important than the industries they're going to bring,
Yeah.
So I think those are the kind of things that PSM is trying to push,
One of the points, and thank you for bringing it up, because one of the points was brought up by Dato Sri Hamza was that we import 40% of our rice, which I don't understand why. Even PRM's president, when I spoke to him, he also brought up the fact that we have a lot of land that can be cultivated and all that. Why do you think that we still import 40% despite the fact that we have so much land to cultivate and we can actually do this on our own?
No, this is capitalism, neoliberal capitalism. Because those days, even Mahathir changed University Pertanian name to University Putra. Because Pertanian is seen not an important...
I think because he was moving more to heavy industries and all that.
And you see, every country was trying to industrialize. And now we are buying rice from Vietnam. It's actually cheaper. When you import rice, but then it will have impact on our farmers. But then if you import, that is why, now they're asking the floor price of the rice local to be increased. Because you have no choice. Because a lot of rice coming, from Pakistan, India, Vietnam, it will Thailand, it will just... But previously, Malaysia had been self-sustained in rice, In the 70s, we had enough rice. And there's a target that in 5 years, 10 years, but they've not done anything. Farmers, young people won't work in the rice field unless they are... So PSM proposed a social scheme for rice. We said, look at them as government staff. We said those planting rice, treat them like they are working for the government staff. Give them SOCSO. We propose SOCSO for them. They should be... So you must cultivate more people to participate in that kind of thing and give them enough encouragement, In US, the government gives a lot of subsidy to their farmers. Here, there's a lot of politics. When the government comes, subsidy and all that. So most of the They can even make sure that land for agriculture is not turned into industry. But every state, because land is controlled by state, they want to make money how? By logging industry. Who talks about planting vegetables,
Right, yeah.
So there must be a real mindset, change of mindset in the state government. There's the capitalist state government, all the state government. You either cut timber, make money, convert, and then or you make industry. You bring more industry. You go talk to your. So this is a problem. It's actually capitalism lah. You companies in the first world come to the third world, clear our agriculture.
Yeah.
So and now you have this problem.
But is this the only reason why food security has become a problem in our country?
Yeah, I think this is one of the big problem. You see, like we have like Sime Dabi estates where we are working with. They're evicting all those who are rearing cattle there.
Okay.
And they want to they're importing milk and meat from outside. So we are discussing with the Agriculture Ministry. Agriculture Ministry say they support us. This cattle farming and palm oil can coexist. For like 100 years they are together, no problem. Sime Dabi government JLC got a zero cattle policy. So there is a big problem. So that day talking to Muhammad Sabu, I said, and Sime Dabi told us we don't have to talk to the agriculture minister because we come under the commodity ministry.
Oh, okay.
Because our agriculture ministry says we need cattle, we need milk, we need this one. But they are coming under commodity this one, so they are not bothered about the cattle farming and all that. They come under
a different ministry, lah.
So those kind of things, this can be resolved. So the government must, if food security is put in front, then this can be easily resolved. Sime Dabi is a GLC.
My goodness,
So
I didn't know this.
we raised these issues actually to Sime Dabi. We have sent memorandums. We have done protests on this, and we have stopped eviction in some places of the cattle. And then Tambun area, Prime Minister's area, they are chasing away the farmers. And one of the thing was they wanted to give land to football players who got the state, when the state won football.
So
Malaysia,
for that, they want to chase out the farmers.
Yeah, because they need the land. So they take this land. So they wanted to. So these are the things,
My goodness.
the priorities. So when they were evicting the farmers, there was a big fight. I got this call. And Nurul Iza asked me, what is happening? How can they? She was very upset that the farmers were evicted. I said, you have to ask your papa. Because I think, end of the day, it's happening in Tambun. It's happening in the Prime Minister's Parliament area. But the state government. So what happened was the enforcement people said, we only listen to the Pejabat Tanah, which is under the state government. They're not listening to the Prime Minister. In fact, the Prime Minister's PA was trying to stop the eviction of the farmers. So where are the priorities?
Based on your experience in politics, I always ask this question, but I'd like to ask people who have been in politics a long time. When you started to what it is today, what are the major differences do you see in politics in Malaysia?
I think when we started, we never thought BN will lose lah. So Ishamuddin Rais used to say, kalau if the day BN loses election, there will be a riot lah, revolution. The only way you can come to power is through a people's revolution, a Pilihan Raya atau Jalan Raya, all that, But we've seen that the BN has lost power, and we feel that whichever party comes to power don't have 2/3 majority. I mean, of course now Madani, because of the coalition, they have the 2/3, but most of the time they don't have. And one way is good because you can you can still bargain. You don't have absolute power. Is actually quite good lah. So one thing we've seen, parties election people can change. New parties can come to power. But another problem, I think, how polarized the country has become lah.
Very.
And I think the social media, you wouldn't believe it, but I'm in 130 WhatsApp groups.
My goodness.
And I just stay in this WhatsApp group because a lot of people add me, Malay groups, Indian groups, all that. So I can, on a simple issue, you can see how divided the people are.
Yes.
For example, Zakir Naik, how divided the people are.
Yeah.
You talk about just an immigration, Chinese, or an accident. How divided the people can be in the so two WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
And it's problematic. Like now India Pakistan war. People nobody will be looking at the issues. It's what who Pakistan Muslim, India Hindu.
Yes.
Temple issues. So for me very interesting was Surendran represented the
Yes, the Kampung Baru, right?
yeah, before they represented the temple.
Temple, yes.
So for me, next thing I have to do, I have to highlight this to people. I see, because people always they look at things very black and white. They don't see it together.
In terms of the government's move now, moving forward as we head towards GE16, what would your advice be to the government in terms of what should the key priorities be for them in terms of what are the areas that they should focus on in their governance for Malaysia?
I think you see, one is there are many things the government should do like the institution, a lot of promises they made. If you look at the Pakatan Harapan promises, very good actually, but they are not implementing it. They are now doing all the things they didn't champion for. So I think for one is how do you implement those things which are for us, which are popular things like government hospitals, because most people go to government hospitals, improve on government hospital, low cost flats, take over the management of low cost flats. These are things we think the Rakyat will appreciate. On the institutional reform is important because it will help the future government, because like now we have only 18. But if there's no law on allocation for opposition, if this government doesn't make a law that opposition should get equal, they should put all that in place, because they might be the opposition the next time. They need to. But I think for me the biggest worry is we shouldn't meddle with the judiciary. If you have a very good judiciary, then end of the day you go somewhere to go at. And there's a lot of people are very worried that the Prime Minister is maneuvering on the judiciary appointment of the judges.
But there are other issues also that to me I feel are of grave importance. One of it was the Akta 345, if I'm not mistaken, the health the Akta that gave more powers to the deputy DG. I mean the health DG, right? That was very worrying.
Yeah.
And then you see the URA now.
Yes.
When you look at this from your experience, because I don't have, even half what you have done, even less than that. But in your experience, when you look at all this, what do you think is the government's sort of trajectory by doing the URA? These things that were never talked about during the campaign now is quite worrying. These things for me.
For me, practically, URA is important. Okay, I'll explain why.
Yes, please. You gave me a shock there for a while.
Because all the places are very run down.
Okay.
In my own areas, if some areas got only one title and all that, you cannot do anything with the titles. Because why? You need 100% consent. There's no way you can get 100% consent. At least one fellow would have died there over 30 years, 40 years. The fellow, and you will never get 100. So the 100% threshold have to go. But our bigger concern is what are the laws done to make sure that the people have enough say when they refurnish the place? We raised two issues on URA. One was most people staying in low cost units are actually those who are renting. Yes. They're not the owners. So even they will get the consent from the owners. What about those who are renting there? They are the super poor. So you have to make sure if they from 5 stories, they build 10 stories. The people who are renting should be able to stay in the other 5 stories. So those kind of things have to be done. So URA, so there must be proper consultation.
Of the people.
People involved in that. The people are very worried, which I agree, to give away their power. If you give,
of course,
they'll be, But if you give away that, if you allow for 70% or 80% threshold, then you must be allow that 80%. How do you then discuss betterment? Because if you, I understand sometimes Ngakoming's argument because when I work with the very thorough flats, if people visit those flats, the people there will tell you, all of them will be telling you problems. Okay? And if you ask them, if you put a vote to them, they'll all agree to refurnish,
Yeah.
They'll win hands down.
But the
thing
issue
is
of them being vacated and then buying, not having enough capital to go to where are they going to be placed and all that? Those are also concerns, right?
Yes, that have to be resolved. I know because 5 estates, they put them in the flats. Now they've built
Houses.
404 terrace houses for them. From the 4 flats, they're going to move to this one, they're going to demolish. That one we were involved. Because we are involved, we critically this one. No? There's another place in an area where they gave them to stay in another place temporarily. They pay them rental 1,000 ringgit they are given. Then they can move back. They are refurnishing their place. They'll move back. Must have proper policies lah. Must have proper, not policies, laws to ensure that people have rights over it. So I think brushing URA altogether is not right, but also to see how you can improve on it.
Okay, this is a very different view, sir. I must go back and read up again.
I think end of the day we need to find a solution lah. Of course, the popular thing now is to oppose it lah. But how do you, if you go to flats which are really bad, you need at least 700 square feet. They are like 400 square feet, 2 rooms, very terrible. Now you must make sure that they temporarily they stay in another place. There must be agreement made. They stay there, and then they must go back to this place, better furnished, better environment, and then must make sure that this is a lot of work, lah. So, but you have to put all that in properly. Then, if not, what will happen is, it will be like that. Of course, there's another idea of making the thing. How do you do that?
Exactly.
You have to still move out people.
Yes.
So either way, you move out people. Now the only issue is who's going to bear the cost lah. Of course, PSM will say the state must bear the cost, but the state will say no cost. So they want to bring capitalists inside. Capitalists want to build 10-story.
The price will
go up. Like very recently, I'm because I'm involved in all this. Very recently, Bukit Jelutong workers, we were fighting for 25,000 ringgit flats, houses. That time agreement, 20 years ago. Finally, today, after all this fight, they're giving them a flat for 250,000 ringgit flat for 25,000.
Wow.
Great, right? But tell you the problem.
Okay.
So great. But now they have to pay maintenance fee, 280 ringgit a month. Because when now their flats is 250,000 flats. They say for swimming pool all. I don't know why 250 for swimming pool. So I wrote to Lembaga. I said, there's a low-cost people. They cannot pay 280 ringgit a month.
Yeah.
Most to most, you must be below 100 ringgit maintenance fee lah. So there are other issues lah. So when you are into the thing, you deal with it, you fight with the authorities, you find that this one, you take over the JMB. There's a lot of democratic fight happening within the flat. So like for me in Kajang, all the worst flat, I first try to form a committee, take over the flats management, then fight for better things.
Okay.
That's the easy way lah. The other way is of course make a press statement, go there, carry a banner and do that lah. But you need to work with
Who
the
are you
people.
talking about?
Talking about.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming on this podcast. I really appreciate you, and I hope you can come back again.
Thank you.
I really honor what you have done, and all you guys at PSM is really your. Like I always say, I've said many times in this podcast, you are the only party that does good groundwork, and y'all should be. Have a better presence in parliament, whether it's state level or national and all that. So I wish you the best. And
thank you
so much. So guys, that's we have Mr. Arul from PSM. We hope he comes back again. Please check out PSM's website, their social media, and you will find out for yourself that this is a party that does a lot of work for the ground, for the people, and they should have better representation in parliament, whether it's, as I said, the state or national level. So next election, support them if they do run. We are eager to see what happens to the third force, and wish you all the best, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so that's all. So please, as always, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye.